Good afternoon and welcome to the latest Demolition Daily Livestream, brought to you once again in conjunction with our friends over at Northern Track. Northern Track is a proven British manufacturer of selector grapple. I'm going to try that again. Northern Track is a proven British manufacturer of selector grapples for excavators in the 13 to 25 ton operating weight range. At a time when importing products might be difficult, Northern Track actually has attachments here in stock on the ground in the UK. To find out more, head on over to northerntrack.com. First off, as you can see on the banner there, I just want to say a massive thank you to all of those that took part, all the demolition men that took part in the first ever Demolition Social Club last night, and they were all men, in particular to one Australian demolition man that got up at 4 o'clock in the morning just to take part. The party itself had some technical difficulties. I'd be lying if I said that wasn't the case, but we're hoping to resolve that. They weren't of our making, it was just the platform we were using, but we are working in the background. But those that persevered and have all said that they got value out of the chat and the get together as well. So based on that, we will be doing it again, probably the same time, the same place. So Wednesday at 7 o'clock, this time next week. We'll put full details of the Demolition Social Club Part 2 on demolitionnews.com shortly. Now, on with the show. I think it's probably time for a bit of honesty. I'm struggling, if I'm honest. I'm struggling with enforced isolation, same as everybody else. I'm struggling with not being able to do my usual work, much as everybody else. I'm struggling with not being paid, even by those that have been reliable payers for years, same as everybody else. More than that, I'm struggling personally with the fact that I've apparently inherited a role now that I never signed up for and that I feel totally unqualified for. Anyone that knows me or anyone that knows what's going on inside my head will know that I am not an agony aunt. I'm selfish, I'm stubborn, I'm opinionated, even on subjects I know absolutely nothing about. I lack empathy, or at least I thought I did. This past few weeks, I think, has proved, certainly to me, that I do actually possess a few grains of humanity, and that the plight of others really does have a deep and lasting impact on me. So last week I had a conversation with a lady. She got hold of me via Facebook, and she specifically asked me to go online and to urge construction companies and demolition companies to shut their sites. And the reason that she wanted me to do that was because she was worried about her partner. She wanted her partner home safe rather than being on a demolition site. Just imagine that. Imagine sitting at home watching the TV news as the COVID-19 death toll rises here and in Spain and in Italy and in the US, knowing that your loved one is out there potentially being exposed to that deadly virus. And I'll be honest, that lady's desperation and her concern has played on my mind ever since. And it's just one of the reasons that I still believe that all non-essential sites should close, much as they've done in Scotland. And that was reinforced last night. During the Demolition Social Club, I got to talking to a guy who's got, 20 plus years experience in the UK demolition industry. I've spoken to him a few times before, but he was good enough to join us last night. Under normal circumstances, he is the sort of guy that this industry is crying out for. He's passionate about the industry. He's got a lot of experience in the industry. He's worked for a lot of companies, so he's picked up a lot along the way. But even though his employer had furloughed a number of its staff, it chose, in this instance, to make this guy redundant. So all those early starts that he'd put in, all those late finishes, all the working in the freezing cold and the pissing rain, all for nothing. All for nothing, just forgotten overnight. Instead, his loyalty and his dedication, I guess, has been rewarded with a redundancy letter. Amazingly to me, and maybe I shouldn't be amazed by these things anymore, it actually concluded by saying when things pick up, they might want to re-employ him. That individual, we were talking last night, he's actually now applying for work in Australia just to keep his family fed and clothed. If he does leave the UK demolition sector, he will be a loss. And my personal fear is that he won't be alone. Not everyone will move down under, not everyone will emigrate, but a good many, I think, might decide that stacking shelves at their local supermarket or delivering takeaway food might actually be a safer and more secure option. And seriously, given the lack of loyalty that's being shown by some of their employers, could you really blame them? I know I couldn't. Now, I'm well aware of the fact that this cuts both ways. The lack of loyalty that some demolition firms are showing to their employees in a lot of ways is just a reflection to the lack of loyalty that's being demonstrated by their clients and by their main contractor clients. Just before anyone suggests that I don't know what I'm talking about, let me just tell you, I had a business fail back in 2006. It was a big deal. It really was a big deal. But do you know who got paid? Our staff got paid. Do you know who didn't get paid? Me. I paid the staff, I paid the banks, and I paid the taxman, and I paid our creditors. But basically there was nothing left for me. But while I think this whole crisis has exposed some tier one contractors for the money grabbing vampires that they really are, I'm not entirely convinced anymore that they are solely to blame. I think they should shoulder some of the blame, certainly, but I don't think they are solely to blame. The longer I watch all of this unravel and unfurl, the more I'm convinced that this desire to work when medical advice and good sense suggests that they shouldn't doesn't stem from clients. It doesn't stem from big name construction companies and tier one contractors. In my opinion, this actually stems from the banks and the financial institutions that prop them up. At a time when the nation is being advised to work from home, no one needs a new office block. No one. And even if you manage to finish an office block this week, it's going to sit empty. Nobody's going to work at the moment. At a time when we've got international travel is all but impossible, and internal travel is being stamped upon and outlawed to a degree, who needs a new hotel to be finished this week, next month? Nobody. But I tell you who does. It's the banks that loaned the money to fund the building of that new apartment block, or the financial institution that stumped up the cash for the construction of a new hotel. You see, when you get to a certain level in the construction industry, the money to undertake a project is borrowed almost entirely. It's not like when you go to, some people decide to go and build their own home, and they dip into the life savings. That's not how major construction works. Major construction works on borrowed money, and it's borrowed against an agreed construction program and an agreed completion date. And that completion date is when the bank expects and demands that it gets its money back. Now, in other countries, loans, mortgages have been frozen while this COVID-19 crisis plays out, but not in the UK. Here in the UK, banks and financial institutions, it seems to me, and if you can prove otherwise, I'd love to hear about it, but it seems to me they are maintaining the pressure to adhere to agreed works programs, to make interim payments on time, to get the work finished on time, regardless. In my opinion, it's the banks above everyone that are currently placing wealth before health. Not for the first time, it has to be said, but that's my feeling on the situation at the moment. Directly or otherwise, they are the reason that we've got spouses and girlfriends and boyfriends up and down the country worried about their demolition and construction loved ones. Directly or otherwise, they're the reason that an experienced and respected demolition man is having to consider emigrating halfway around the bloody world just to make ends meet. Now, sadly, in business, as in life, I guess, shit flows downhill. And it's those at the very, very bottom of the heap, men like the guy considering moving to Australia, and countless self-employed, self-funded and agency workers that will find themselves buried neck deep when all of this blows over. At the same time, the bankers, the city bigwigs, will sit in their ivory towers counting their cash, while the rest of us just drown in a deluge that is at least partly of their making. Pretty negative, isn't it? Don't forget, these are also the same banks that we bailed out to the tune of billions of pounds just a decade ago. Now, I don't know about you. I haven't forgotten what they did back then. I won't forget how they're behaving now, and I hope you won't forget either. But it sounds like a cliche, but to a degree, I'm using that as fuel. I'm planning to survive and to thrive just to spite the bastards. I want to be here when all this blows over. You know, overdraft free, which I am at the moment, debt free, just to spite the vampires that feast upon, working men and working women up and down the country. So I'm not going anywhere. That being said, it is Good Friday tomorrow. So here in the UK, that means a national holiday. So I won't be broadcasting tomorrow. And I'm planning to take Easter Monday with the bits of my family that are actually in lockdown here with me, who are probably sick of the sound of my voice right now. But I'll be back on Tuesday for the start of our 4th week. Jesus. Remember when I had a proper job? The 4th week of daily live streams. Before I sign off, I just wanted to say a big thank you. So, a big thank you to all those that have watched and share these shows over the past 3 weeks. Thanks to everyone that's taken part and to everyone that's left comments and feedback and sent me emails and text messages. As I'm sure you can tell, I'm winging it a bit here. I'm making this up as I go along. But the fact that I turn on at 3 o'clock every weekday and I find an audience sat here waiting to listen to me, listen to our guests, it gets me out of bed in the morning. It actually gives me some purpose at a time when, frankly, the work that normally gives me purpose isn't actually here. So, as I say, thanks to all our guests, thanks to everyone that's been viewing, thanks to everyone that's left comments, sent us messages. Really hope you're going to be here next week. I hope you're fortunate enough to be able to enjoy a long weekend with your family and with your friends at a safe distance, obviously. But whatever you do and wherever you are, the usual rules and the usual sign-off applies. Please stay safe and look after yourselves, look after your friends, your family, your colleagues. We will be back here on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, planning for the next Demolition Social Club the following day at 7 o'clock. So yeah, let's keep our chins up, keep our heads up. Let's really piss off the banks and stay strong, and let's get through this together, because that's what it's all about. It will be pulling together to get through this. We will not get any help, it would appear, from the financial institutions. So the only people that are going to help us are ourselves. So let's do that. See you again next week at 3 o'clock on Tuesday, and then 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend and a happy Easter to everyone. Cheers.